Hello from the Somme River region, northern France. In these very fields, in 1916, 1.2 million men ended up dead, wounded, or missing, never to be seen again. This became known as the Battle of the Somme, which resulted in 1.2 million casualties, and it is known today as one of the bloodiest battles of the Great War. Fought on both sides, the Central Powers against the British and the French. And I believe it's one of the largest military casualty events in British military history. Come with me to explore the memorial, and I believe later on we may see Dunkirk. Let's go. For those of you who don't know, the Battle of the Somme started with a terrifying bang. The British casualty total after just day one was 57,000 men. And they went on to lose a total of 420,000 of the total 1.2 million. Crazy. It really is quite something, I must admit. Well, Will is telling me that I've been here before, and I find his claims rather spurious. There could be some weight to that, but I was not expecting it to be of this magnitude, if I'm being honest. It's quite something. So here we are, as we're up close. So it says that all these names, I don't know how well you can see, all the names inscribed on the pillars of this monument are all of the missing. It says the missing, but I think it's the missing and the dead of the battle on the British and the French. So in total it's around 620,000 people. All the other casualties obviously were incurred by the Central Powers. But wow. Yeah, so you have Sussex, Norfolk, West Kent, Royal North Devon. Wow. I don't know if you can see. I'll try and if I go over the other side, there's a lot of bit more light shining on it. It might be the French on the other side. It really is special. Stuff like this I really find fascinating. Oh yeah, so I know, Warwick, Trot. Here you go. I think that's a bit clearer. Oh yeah, so about 620,000 names. Mind-blowing. And to think that was happening here in the fields. Over 1 million people. Trench warfare. Dug in. Barely any movement. You can't even begin to imagine what it was like. So we've just seen here, Will has found, it states here, I'll show that quick. So it states here that on the memorial itself, it's not the 600,000, it's 72,000, because it's all the people who have no known grave that were found as victims and lost in the Somme. So I suppose it's quite nice. You've got somewhere to commemorate if you haven't been sent back home to your family or your home village and buried at your local church, as many of them were. But still, that's mind-blowing. think it's all in alphabetical order, or is it by division? I don't know. Maybe I'll look through here. I don't believe I've had any relatives involved in this, but I might have a look. Might be quite interesting. Might find out something I didn't previously know. Let's go find Will, because Will knows for a fact that he's got family on here. A great uncle and a granddad, or great granddad, that are both here somewhere, so we're trying to find them now. Any luck?
Not yet.
What are we looking for?
Oh, maybe not. Hang on. I found hen. Oh, it is, yeah.
Oh wow, look what we have just found.
My mum's just sent me a picture
picture.
of us. What a gimpy little idiot.
A picture of Will pointing at Hayward. Here we go. Back with his, is it great uncle?
No, it should be Henbest, not Hayward, right?
Oh, is it?
Am I pointing at Hayward?
Oh no, Henbest, yeah.
Henbest. This is my great uncle, yeah.
This is Will's great uncle. Here
Cheers,
on the Somme Memorial.
That's
Wow.
mental. That's so funny, she just sent me that.
Wow.
This is like,
It's crazy. I think when like everyone, you think back to the war, especially the First World War, it's almost the way it's spoken about and the way it's written, it almost feels like untouchable. Like there's no links to it back in the past, but it's barely 100 years ago. It's not far removed from our current history. And I think it makes it a bit more, it really, I was just saying, like, most people, you think that World War I is so far removed from your current life.
Yeah.
When you come here and you see like names that are literally only a couple generations away.
yeah, literally what, 3?
Yeah, you realise that it's not long ago whatsoever.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're
Yeah.
lucky we're in this generation, really, aren't we?
Yeah, crazy. We've found more of Will's family. Who's this? So, where is it? For the Scots Guard.
Yeah.
McKinnon P. You won't be able to see that on the
No,
camera.
probably not.
But who's that in relation to you?
I'm probably an uncle on my dad's side. He doesn't know specifically, but that's the family. Like we've got 2 like family names.
Family names.
So chances are
That's,
that'll be one.
there you go. More connection. We're getting swarmed. It's okay, it's okay. We're getting swarmed by the school. Yeah, so that's on the Scots Guard. Apparently there's one more Edwards in the Irish, so we're going to try and find that.
Irish guys are here.
So as you come through underneath and out the other side of this monument, you'll come to a cemetery, a graveyard, and a monolith cross to pay your respects. Now, I believe the idea of this cemetery is because all the soldiers on the memorial unknown. They were never sent back to their families to be buried. So what you can do is you can come to one of these unmarked graves and you can pay your respects to your family member or a loved one that is named on the monument. So although they don't have the 72,000 spots, you still have somewhere you can come and pay your respects, which is quite nice. I suppose for a lot of people who have relatives who they for sure know that they lost in the Battle of the Somme, it's nice to have a bit of closure and come here and pay your respects. So what I believe it is so you have all these gravestones and they are done to a brigade or a regiment. They're dedicated. So if you have a loved one on the memorial, then you have a dedicated headstone that you can pay your respects because they were part of that brigade. and it sort of escaped my mind. But walking through here is really interesting to see, because, for example, we have one here, a soldier of the Great War, the Cameroonians. And I think things like this go under the radar because obviously Cameroon was part of the French Empire when the war took place. So you had lots of Africans that came and helped fight in the wars. Let me have, here you go, the Australian Imperial Forces, and then yeah, you have another Australian, the Canadian Regiment of the Great War. Yeah, I think that gets forgotten quite a lot. I know it's called World War One or the Great War, but lots of people, I think, just go to default British, French against the Central Powers, but no. We had people all over the Commonwealth, all over the empires, shipped over to help us. And taking a closer look over at the crosses, rather than the headstones, the crosses to mark the graves. All the crosses are French. All the headstones are the British and Commonwealth. Here we are at the monument, the monolith. 14 to 18, the First Great War. I find it very hard to sort of detach myself from the current situation, the perspective, and sort of even imagine what it could have been like. Because you're here now, they have a lovely memorial. They have a lovely memorial and cemetery, but you're here. We're lucky with the weather. It's so nice and peaceful. I couldn't even begin to fathom what it must have been like for the individuals who fought, gave their very lives to protect their country. So as you see the monument in the background, that's our time here done. Quite awe-striking, I think, and it really helps you get more of a feel for the sense of occasion that the battle was and how it should be remembered. Okay, onwards and upwards. As we move further up the French coast towards Calais, we're going to go head past and hit Dunkirk. So we'll jump in the motor and show you what's there. So after a couple hours in the car, we have made it to Dunkirk. This memorial and cemetery site is specifically for World War I. Dunkirk played a big part in both Great Wars, but this is specifically for the first one. Let's go take a look. So we're heading towards the Dunkirk Memorial, but to do so we're coming through a big cemetery which is dedicated to all the soldiers who lost their lives in the Great Wars that were from just the Dunkirk region, I believe. Some of these are very grand. And there's a couple actually small mausoleums, so they must have had very wealthy families. We have made it to the World War II specific Dunkirk Memorial. Now this memorial is sort of why I think Dunkirk is most well known. Because for those of you who don't know why it is so influential in the Second World War, it's because of a thing called the Miracle of Dunkirk. Now this was in 1940, at a time when the Allied forces, Britain and France, were losing the war to the Germans. And in an attempt to reconsolidate the army and not have it completely crushed, through Dunkirk and off the beaches, they attempted or undertook an evacuation plan that included more than 700 vessels, and they were able to evacuate successfully over 340,000 soldiers, I believe. And this is one of the key points of difference, flashpoints you could say, in the war that I think is the reason why we went on to be victorious. Because being able to rescue 300,000 men and keep that core of the army enabled us to reconsolidate, come back and fight again. Amazing. In a similar vein to the Somme Memorial, they have the headstones dedicated to the Middlesex Regiment. So again, I suppose you can come here and pay your respects, and actually inside you can see a lot of people they lay wreaths, or they come and put a rose down to a loved one that was part of the regiment. Very nice. Final stop will be the beaches, where all the action happened, and it'll be quite cool to actually see it in the flesh. Stand in the same spot all those brave soldiers did, not that long ago, barely 70 years. Now, I don't know about you, but I find this quite surreal. It may seem inconsequential coming to the beach at Dunkirk, but for me, I love history, and it's almost my own form of time travel. You can go to a place and stand almost in the exact same spot as those who came before you and those who you have read about in history. In this instance, like I said, hundreds of thousands of French and British troops fleeing Dunkirk, or holding off the Germans as much as they could in Dunkirk, fleeing onto the beach, out to sea. Incredible. It really is surreal. So there are a number of factors attributed to the success in completing the miracle of Dunkirk. Now, one of these was the German ruler himself. I'm not sure if I can say his name, but he ordered the panzers to halt for 36 hours because they'd been progressing so aggressively and so far. He wanted to hold them back so the rest of the army and the battalions and regiments could catch up, so then they could all push through as one force into Dunkirk. So this 36 hours was vital because it gave the Allies more time to send ships in to get the troops out. Also, within these 36 hours, it gave enough time for the weather to turn, and the weather became so bad that it grounded the Luftwaffe, or the majority of it. And the Luftwaffe was the German, like the RAF, the German air military. So this meant that they couldn't really get through and do any aerial attacks, and those that did, that could fly, it was very minimal. And thirdly, because the weather was so bad, you could either they could only have the ground troops or vessels. But the way Dunkirk is set up is it's very shallow gradient, it's super flat. I'll show you now, look. All the way along the beach, it's miles and miles long, it's completely flat, straight out, super low gradient, which means when the Germans were trying to use their boats, all the large vessels were made redundant or useless because they can't get in far enough to disrupt the evacuation process on land. So it's a real culmination of things that went our way, the right way, so the British and French could complete this miracle. And there's something quite telling, I think, about that, because when you look at all these flashpoints and these pivotal moments in history, there's always a chain of events where things that seem like implausible seem to happen, and they all seem to go the right way, I should say, to make that event a success. Some say it's fate, others say it's coincidence, I don't know, but everything came together in those chain of events to make a successful evacuation. And this was a real heartfelt victory, because especially in the UK and Britain, it was seen as like a moral victory over the Germans, and it rallied the morale of the public and of the troops, which, like I said before, allowed us to come again and eventually become victorious. The memorial for the miracle of Dunkirk. My French isn't amazing, but it says, I think it says, for the glorious memories of the pilots, marines, soldiers of the armies of France and the Allies, the sacrifice for the Battle of Dunkirk, May to June 1940. Wow. Pretty cool. Those of you who know your French, you can check whether I got that right. So, as I stand here on the beaches of Dunkirk in northern France, looking out to the channel where the British Isles lurks, just out of sight, I think that brings an end to the video. I've hoped you enjoyed it. I think it's been really cool. We've seen an influential part of World War I, the Battle of the Somme, and then we've seen an influential part of both wars, but more specifically the Second World War in Dunkirk. And these two events were sort of, I think, epitomise how much was given in both wars by all the soldiers of the Allies to protect their own interests and save our countries. And I think it's really telling as well, because I feel like I could have picked another two. There's out of 100. There's so many influential battles and points and occurrences during that time period of both wars, and that signifies just how important they really were for us, for global history, for modern history. So it's definitely been a fun little journey, a little adventure, and it's been very enjoyable. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next adventure. Peace.